Hello and welcome to the fourth ever episode of the Long Islanders podcast. I'm your host, John Potts, with my co-hosts Justin Foley and Vin Pensabene. Say hi, Vin.
Hi, Vin.
And without any further ado, folks, after that common catchphrase, let's get on with the show. Vin is hosting. What do we got?
All right, well, because I didn't have it up yet, we're talking about NBA takes for Justin Foley. I almost said your middle name. We're going to talk a little bit about the G League story that came out today. Paul George's comments about joining the Lakers, NFL's concussions, MLB's not being able to call a home run, and a little bit on Week 7.
Of the NFL, folks.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know sports. So first, let's go into the G League. So in case you guys have not heard today, we had the G League come out and say that they are going to offer a professional path for players that don't want to do the NCAA. The G League will, starting next summer, offer select contracts worth $125,000 to elite prospects who are at least the age of 18 but not eligible for the NBA draft. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is going to be able to rival NCAA, or do you think this is just going to be another JBA situation?
Honestly, I think this might be the end of college basketball because for years these guys have been saying that they want the opportunity to make the money to play. Because let's be real, college basketball, if you're good enough to be in the NBA, you shouldn't have, and you're only going to play 1 year in college anyway, you shouldn't have to stay those extra years just because of some stupid rule where you're making money for someone else.
Justin, what are your thoughts on this?
I have a lot of thoughts. I think it's really good for the players that might come from like bad economic backgrounds, kind of like what John Calipari says a lot, the University of Kentucky coach. He always says, like, yeah, I want to have guys for 4 years, but you have to do what's best for your family. Sometimes it's better to just take the $125,000 that they're going to give and just go right for it. But it also does cause a lot of problems with developmental and I'm concerned about the teams that are going to have the players in the G League because they're not guaranteed to get them back once they enter the draft. So what incentive do they have to even give them playing time when they have guys that they could just be developing in their own like minor league system? I think that's like one thing that they're going to have to like talk about, or maybe make a separate D League for like all rookies. Maybe that's just something that they're going to have to do, but that's just my first thoughts on it. It's going to be interesting to see how they take it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with where Justin's going a little bit. It's going to be a little interesting on that sense. But, John, I don't agree with you at all. I don't think this is a credible threat. I think it's kind of stupid to think that college players aren't getting paid, the top ones.
The difference is now they can get paid legitimately, and now they don't have to hide shit and then get busted for whatever agent stuff happened behind the scenes, and then they fake get in trouble for it.
I want to point out that you're the first one to curse on this podcast today.
That's okay, because I said that's the worst word we're allowed to use, and I used it.
Oh, okay.
Let's look at it this way. LeVar Ball tried to start his own league, and while that wasn't the greatest success, I think you can give a lot of credit to what he did was part of the reason for this, because LaMelo Ball got pulled from UCLA in order to do this. We're not going to talk about LiAngelo because that was its own separate thing, but LaMelo stopped from going to college, ends up doing this. He hopefully will still be drafted. I don't want anything bad to happen to the guy regardless of the situation. I'd still like to see him make it into the league. I think he will make it into the league. And in my opinion, if he goes into this G League, he's going to win the MVP the first season.
I think he has a very good shot. I don't think the elite players that they're talking about are going to go that route. Right now in the G League, they have to take, as Woj tweeted out today that I saw, they take long, early connected flights. They travel by bus. They don't get the best hotels. Where in college, if you're an elite prospect, you're going to a Duke, Kansas, one of those type of organizations, and you're getting elite coaching, the best of everything. I think that even though you're going to get more eyes on you if you stay the NCAA route, it's just the nature of where we're at than if you're on the G League. And also what Justin was saying a little bit, I didn't think of. Say after the 1 year, what happens? Are they going to get drafted and just change entire organizations?
Yeah, that's the plan. What the plan says is that they enter the league for 1 year and then they are eligible for the draft. It's basically a buffer year between you graduating high school and being eligible for the draft.
Well, yeah, but then if you don't get signed, you can if you don't get drafted, you can sign wherever you want. So if that player isn't drafted, he can stay exactly where he is, no problems.
Yeah, but my whole thing is if you're using the G League as a developmental league, I know the Knicks, so the Knicks have the NBA team, and then they have the Westchester Knicks. If they sign let's just say LaMelo, because he's the easiest person to insert into the situation.
Yeah.
But they might not get a high draft pick, and they know LaMelo is going to go number 1. Why would you play him? Why would you give him that exposure when he could go number 1 and why take away minutes from guys that you're trying to develop in your own organization?
Because having a guy like that is still going to help develop your other players. Because I think what they're banking on is, because like you said, this is going to be a summer thing, most likely, correct? This is going to be
that's when it's starting, summer of 2019.
So you look at it right then, there is no other basketball really going on besides the big three. Perspective, this is just another way for NBA teams to continue to make money.
Yeah.
Because no one's watching the WNBA.
Well, that's a little rude. I mean, it's
true though.
It's the truth. More people watch Big Three basketball than WNBA basketball.
Well,
I've been able to tell.
I love the Big Three, so don't you dare try to trash talk.
I love the Big Three. I think it's great.
It is great. I can't wait to see Manu in it. I think
I can't wait to see Kobe eventually get into that when it gets bigger.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then he's going to get 2 players kicked off his team because he has to be.
He'll get 2 former centers.
Yeah, and then he's going to be like, I'm the man. I do it. I win the title.
All right, so before we go off of this topic, any last words on what do you guys think on the G League whole story?
LaMelo Ball MVP. So that's what I'm saying.
I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how they pull this off. I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions considering it only came out earlier today. It's definitely going to have to be more developed because right now I don't know how they can. It just seems like there's too many glitches in the system right now, so they just have to figure that out before. I mean, they have a whole year, so almost a whole year.
I think this is the equivalent of what's happening to the NFL on a very smaller scale. The NFL now, they have the American Football League coming up. They have the XFL again. I think it's just these type of things where they're just trying to take down a major powerhouse. But I don't think it's going to be successful at the end of the day. But hey, if I'm wrong, I'll accept and happily be wrong.
I think this is one of those things. It's really just going to be, we got to wait and see how it plays out. Because right now it's very conceptual. There's talk that some guys are going to play in it. But I think for right now, it's a wait and see thing. Because college basketball right now is still going to dominate a lot of it. But I think if they're able to attract some more coaches, it's all going to be a wait and see, in my opinion.
Yeah. So jumping off of the G League, let's graduate and get drafted. So me and John did an NBA preview a few days ago. I don't even know what day. Well, I think it was Monday.
It was on Monday, episode 3.
Episode 3. But Justin was unable to be there because he rather sleep.
No, I don't know as much about basketball, and I'm not going to pretend for the sake of a podcast.
Well, to pretend for the sake of a podcast, Justin, who do you have for your MVP going into this season?
Anthony Davis. I mean, he's just such a monster. And I think now with he was really good before DeMarcus Cousins got there. And now with DeMarcus Cousins gone, I think it's definitely his team, and he's gonna ball out every single night. And I don't see anyone being able to really stop him.
Well, if you watched the opening night last night, which I did.
Oh, I did.
It didn't seem like many people were going to stop him.
Exactly.
Especially on a Rockets team.
And Vin, this is where I got to give you a lot of credit because you were 100% right, and I completely agreed with you. Carmelo Anthony was that helped the Thunder, and I think it hurt the Rockets a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they addition by subtraction. Third team in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not good.
Anymore.
Justin, who do you have for your defensive player of the year? And please tell me it's not a Rocket.
It's not. I'm not that stupid. I know that they're allergic to defense. The only person who can kind of play defense is
Chris Paul.
Is Chris Paul, but that's only if he's stealing the ball.
Yes.
On a bounce pass, as he did for all of his career. But I know I'm not wrong. There's a problem that I'm not wrong with. That I'm not wrong with that.
You know, when PJ Tucker is your elite defender,
On the team, maybe you need to reevaluate.
I don't know. I think Clint Capella is a little bit more of an elite defender.
I mean, he's good, but at the same time, it's like he's a center on a team that's all perimeter play. So,
yeah. But to answer your question, defensive player of the year. You know what? Kawhi. I think Kawhi's coming out with something to prove, and I think he's just going to be a monster this year. He showed flashes of brilliance last night in his first game with Toronto, so we'll see how he does. But
and because I like putting you on the spot, one last thing for the NBA from you. I need.
Okay.
Well, actually, two, because the next topic is also NBA.
Okay.
Who do you have for your finals prediction and the winner?
Finals prediction? I mean, it has to be the Warriors in the West. I don't know if LeBron and the Lakers right now are built to compete with them. I think they're trending in the right direction maybe after next offseason, unless something completely implodes with the Warriors. Right now it's the Warriors for me. And plus the West is too good. And the only two teams that stick out for me in the East are, well, three teams. There's the Sixers, but I don't think they're going to make the finals this year. I think they're also trending in the right direction, though.
Hashtag sad.
Right now it's either between the Celtics or the Raptors. I mean, Kawhi has that finals experience. We'll see. I mean, Kyrie has it too. It's all just a matter of both teams staying healthy. I think the Eastern Conference is going to come down to whether it's going to come down to Boston or Toronto for me. But I could see Boston having the edge.
Well, welcome to my prediction, because I said Warriors v Celtics.
Oh, really?
So welcome to being correct.
You know what, Vin? I don't need your sass right now.
What was your prediction?
Mine was Lakers versus Celtics.
Oh, you're an idiot.
Well, you know what? You can call me an idiot all you want. You can call it whatever you want. But honestly, I think there's a chance because LeBron James is LeBron James. And personally, I'd really like to see that rivalry renewed because it was so good for so many years. And I think it could be really good again. It might not be this year. It might end up being next year in a couple years. But, you know, I'd like to see it, and I didn't want to pick the same thing as everyone else.
Yep. So, jumping off of a team that people like myself, I chose them as a finals team last year to dethrone the Warriors.
Yeah.
Paul George and his comments with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, the Thunder are going to LA to play the Clippers tomorrow for Friday's game.
Okay.
And I think that's where these comments actually stem from. So he goes on the Undefeated, I believe, for ESPN and says that if he's not traded from the Indiana to Oklahoma City last year, he would be a Laker right now. And personally, that irked me a little bit. But before I get into my reasoning, I want to hear your guys because we didn't talk about this beforehand that much.
I mean, isn't that kind of what everyone knew what was going to happen anyway? Everyone knew he was like, it's like water is wet, the sky is blue. Paul George is going to become a Laker. Like it was just like the three things that everyone knew going into last year. But I mean, like, yeah, that whole thing with Westbrook having that party and Paul George gets on stage with the microphone. He's like, and he goes like all over Wall Street. Like, I'm not leaving. Like, like that was very strange for me to see. I mean, I guess he just likes playing with Russell Westbrook, and probably Carmelo leaving is definitely an added bonus for him.
Yeah, I think that really helped a lot with Carmelo leaving because he realized, oh wait, you mean we have a chance to win now because our small forward is going to not shoot Oh, I'm sorry. He played power forward. Our power forward isn't going to go 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I had a problem with this. I mean, what does Paul George have to gain by saying this right now?
He gets to burn Indiana one last time. It's like when you say to your ex-girlfriend, I'm happier without you.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But I also think pretty much the Lakers were unwilling to trade Brandon Ingram or the number 2 pick at the time, which they used to get Lonzo Ball. And
Smart for that.
they were, I mean, I think the Lakers were smart in that. 9 times out of 10, you're getting the star player when he says, I want to go to that team, and he doesn't. I don't think OKC has a chance to get another big free agent because I don't think this team is a finals contender without another star of a Westbrook, of a Paul George caliber.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get it in the draft because of where they're going to end up. And players aren't going to want to go to the small market teams, unfortunately, like OKC. I mean, just seeing what the trade demands. Kyrie wanted to go New York, Miami. Jimmy Butler wanted to go New York, LA. Paul George wanted to go LA. Kawhi wanted to go LA. Just the big market teams are going to get the big market players. LeBron went to LA. And when he left Cleveland the first time, he went to Miami. There's just too much in this that they're not going to get better. And he really didn't need to say it. I just think he needs to shut up on the situation. He's not making any more fans at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he probably could have kept his mouth shut. And we all could have probably just assumed for ourselves that that's what exactly was going to happen. But I mean, he said it. We all kind of knew it. Like when I heard that, I was like, yeah, like obviously, like we all again, everyone knew that's what was going to happen. Like he's not saying some big monumental thing here. Like he's saying exactly what we thought was going to happen, exactly what Woj was saying, and even Schefter when he does basketball was saying.
And Shams.
And honestly, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think him leaving the Pacers, I don't think he expected them to be this good without him. And I think it honestly kind of makes him mad because in my opinion, they're better than they were without him because they were able to add 2 guys that, in my opinion, combined are better than he is solo. So by getting Oladipo and getting Sabonis, who, Ben and I talked about it on the NBA preview, we both love Demonis Sabonis and we think he's going to be really good. I think Paul George, honestly, he's jealous. Like he's jealous of the fact that the team's doing better without him. He's trying to get that one last dig in to try and insult them when in reality – he's realizing that, you know what? I might have made the wrong choice because now I'm stuck with Russell Westbrook, who's going to be a triple-double hog. And, maybe the Thunder are good. I mean, I don't really know what to think of them this year because they have a lot of changes to their lineup and they got rid of Carmelo. But personally, it's just like he should be a Laker. He can say whatever he wants, but I think he's smart enough to know that if he was a Laker right now, they might be they'd be second because I still don't think they overtake Golden State, but they're definitely like the second team in the West from what you expect if he signs there or if he gets traded there. And I think right now he's looking at that Lakers team and he's like, I gotta get some digs in at some of these people that burned me, even though in reality he kind of made a mistake himself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, in the article itself, it talks about how Paul George talked to LeBron about before LeBron left to say, hey, I want to go to LA. If you go to LA, we'll have a bit of a team there. So I think just all this stuff that's coming out, whether it was saved until he was going to go and talk or when he was going to go to LA for the first time this year. I just think if he said that today, which I'm assuming he did, it was not a smart move.
I mean, I think Paul George, it's just like he's kind of showing that he's not the best person, in my opinion, by doing this. Like, I like Paul George as a player. I think he's phenomenal. Paul George. I personally really wanted Paul George to be a Sixer. I thought he'd be a great fit for our team. But when you see stuff like this, it's like, man, why is your mind still on Indiana? Like it's got to be something that like the fact that they're doing better without him. Like I believe they won last night. I'm not 100% sure, but they went further in the playoffs. I mean, they made the playoffs last year and they didn't look completely terrible. They still lost to LeBron, but the difference is it wasn't at the fault of your star player, in my opinion, because you didn't have Oladipo going up against LeBron James. Like Oladipo played his heart out in that series. He almost won them that series.
Now,
I think Paul George is looking at it like we got beat by the Jazz, and they finally almost beat the Cavs now that I'm gone, and I think he's just mad about it.
I mean, I don't really see the whole connection as you're saying with how he's mad about Indiana in this situation. Just mad that he didn't get traded there? Is that what he?
No, I think he's mad that they're doing better without him. I'm telling you, it's like when you break up with your girlfriend and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to have such a better life now. But then she ends up going, wait, but then she glows up and she's way hotter now. So he's like, oh, crap, maybe I made a mistake, but now I'm stuck here in Oklahoma City, and it's Oklahoma City. Like, you can say whatever you want. The man's he's mad that he's in Oklahoma City. He's mad that they lost last night to the Warriors, even though he played as hard as he could because they were missing Westbrook. I think they lose either way. But I don't know. I think Paul George is just being petty. Personally, that's my take on the whole situation.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. He's just, at the end of the day, he didn't need to say it. He said it, but what are you gonna do?
Now, in a petty battle this past few weeks, who's on top? Paul George or Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler.
At least Jimmy Butler put his money where his mouth is, though.
Oh, my God.
He played so well. Like, not even talking about the practice situation where he apparently led the third stringers to win, but I watched the Spurs-Timberwolves game last night, and Jimmy Butler, he really illuminated how much they need him. Like, he made this one three-pointer. Derrick Rose drives in the lane, makes this insane pass out to Butler, and it was just this wild shot that if I'm a coach, I'm like, why are you taking that unless you're Steph Curry? But it goes in, and they were looking really good, and then Andrew Wiggins ends up missing the game-winning shot.
Yeah, I think Paul George is a little more petty. It might just be because of the recency of this coming out compared to Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler did put his money where his mouth is, just in practice in general, taking the end of the bench to beat the starters. I think that was pretty badass.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vin. 100%.
So I don't know about you guys, but I've been sick lately. I've been having a lot of headaches. I think John got me sick because he was complaining about his voice last week to me.
Yeah, Vin, I don't think that's how this works. I don't think I get you sick from this many miles away over a webcam.
So you know what else you get a headache?
Concussions.
Look at that segue.
I knew it.
So NFL this past week, this article that I'm looking at on USA Today came out the 16th. So the NFL's medical executives identified 7 franchises where practice concussion rates were higher than the norm of the rest of the league, and they performed a targeted intervention over the offseason and preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And after their investigation, which included the examination of the practice habits and drills and talking with the officials of the team, they determined that the concussion rate's going down. The NFL did not obviously say which teams were part of this investigation, but apparently from this preseason compared to last, concussions are down 13%. So do you guys think that the NFL is becoming safer?
I mean, overall, yes. I mean, like you can even tell, like just watching the games now, like there's definitely like a lot less harder hits and like everyone's being a little bit more mindful. I think that also has something to do with the fact that everyone's now distracted by those crappy roughing the passer calls.
Thanks.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think if the numbers are right, I mean, it's getting safer. I saw a number where it's like there's no concussions on kickoffs this season.
Yeah, I think the changes they've made to the kickoff have actually been really smart.
Yeah.
I've said for a long time that I think the kickoff is the most dangerous play in all of football.
It's also the most fun to watch, though, but
I'll
trade it.
I mean, I think, well, it's the way that the kickoff goes. I think if you change it to a punt, it's so much safer. Like, you watch punts, and it's a much safer – because it's the way that they're running down the field.
Like after a safety?
I think if they did that instead of kickoffs, I know it's going to lessen the excitement a bit, but it is going to make the game a lot safer. I think that was originally actually pitched by who's the guy that blitzed on the kneel down for the – it was Greg Schiano. I believe that was his take because he had a kid at Rutgers that actually had a career-ending injury on a kickoff. So he came up with this whole idea. And I think it's a great idea because kickoffs, I get that they are very exciting, but, you know, with today's players, like you see Tyreek Hill, he can turn a punt into the same thing. I mean, if it's for this level, like for the player's safety, I think it would be worth looking into. But with what they've done so far to make changes, I think it helps a lot more than even they expected by just making it so that guys don't have a running start up to make the tackle, so the hits aren't quite as hard.
Yeah.
And also with the fact that you now get the ball at the 25 instead of the 20, I feel like we see a lot more kneel downs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another thing that no one's really talking about is the new helmet rule.
Yeah.
With I was just reading the article, and they mentioned the helmets that they now have approved through the NFLPA and the NFL. It goes on a system, and this is the hardest system ever, guys. So be ready for this. If it's an approved helmet, it's in the green pile. If it's not approved, it's in the red pile. I know. Very confusing stuff.
Is there a yellow pile for like the maybes?
Vin, you're making it too confusing.
It's too confusing.
I just picture like a red light, like a traffic.
No. Light, because things can happen with lights. I choose to believe they have a giant red circle and a giant green circle, and they go, okay, it goes in that one or it goes in this one.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, no.
Yeah, but so what they're doing with the helmets now is they have a list of the approved helmets, which is like they're like rated green,
mm-hmm.
and if you've been in the league already for a year and you're using a helmet with red, they give all the players options to like test out different helmets, see which ones they like. And next year they have to move to a green. If you're a rookie, you automatically have to have a green helmet.
Yeah, it's a lot
which I think is good because they're obviously trying to fix this ever since concussion came out. I mean, it's just been a crap storm.
That's actually really similar to what they did in hockey when they instituted face mask. I know we're not really a hockey show, and Vin personally hates hockey.
I don't hate hockey. I just don't know anything about it.
What they essentially did was they made it so if you were already in the league, you did not have to wear the face mask because you've played your whole life without it. We're not going to start making you do it now. It's your own safety at risk, your choice. But every rookie that comes in, it was like, you have to wear a face mask. This is for your own safety. We don't want bad things to happen to you. And you look at the NHL now, guys are no longer taking pucks to the face, that part of their face.
A lot of them are still missing a crap ton of teeth.
Well, that's also because they fight all the time. So, but you know, the face mask protects your eyes. It doesn't really protect your anywhere below your nose, but we see less broken noses sometimes. The problem is there's still fights that kind of really skew the results because you take off your helmet to fight.
Now to go back to NFL, John, you were saying something about instead of kickoff doing punts.
Yes,
I argued that punt is more dangerous than the kickoff. I mean, whenever I think of a punt, I picture I don't know what week it was from last year. It might not even be last year. It might be 2 years ago. From an Eagles standpoint, actually, Darren Sproles getting just destroyed.
The difference is, Vin, though, it's not the regular punt. It's the safety punt. Not like the one that you have when you're just punting. It's the kind where you're doing,
You're basically lined up in the same kickoff formation that they have now where you're stationary.
Yeah.
And then, but instead of kicking it off a tee, you have the punter come out and he punts it.
Yeah, it just changes the way the ball comes at you because then the ball is coming down rather than like into your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes a huge difference when it comes to should I return this?
Or we could eliminate the kickoff entirely, and we could go to Vince football of no kickers allowed.
Absolutely not.
And that's why Vin is not the guy running the NFL, folks.
I don't know. I think I'd be a little bit better than Roger Goodell. I'd be a little more popular.
I mean,
you say that like it's a hard thing to do, though. But you might be popular with like some people, but then everyone else will hate you. So,
okay, like here's why I don't agree with that. I love a good old-fashioned kickoff return for a touchdown.
Oh, I do too. I covered a football game last week, and that was the only points that were scored by the team I covered.
Yes. Exactly. Like, I love watching that, and I don't want to get rid of that. And I feel like because a kicker can choose to kick it higher to give it more hang time, so maybe they down him sooner. If he chooses to take it out, especially if it's before the end zone, he has to. And then, so there's like some strategy with that, I guess. I like watching them run it back.
Like I said, this was more of an issue a couple years ago. With the rules that they've instituted, I think it's made such a big difference that no longer has to be something we do. Because just taking away the running start has helped so much in just player safety. And, so I think the way we're doing it right now is perfect. It's plenty fine, And then we will never get rid of kickers because we need something. We need those guys. They're very important.
And Adam Vinatieri is right on the cusp of breaking the all-time scoring record. He's right there. He can do it this year.
Yeah, he could. But also, I think just helmet to helmet being now out. And, I mean, I pictured a Monday Night Football game between the Bucs and the Steelers when I forget exactly who it was. Hit Ben Roethlisberger on the head with his hand, and they called it roughing the passer.
Well, that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, that's a whole.
So,
we don't have enough time to talk about
no touching the head.
Because I don't care when it doesn't affect my team, but the second it affects my team, it's over. And the Eagles have gotten screwed out of many a defensive stop because of that. And I'm still upset. That is what lost us the game to the Vikings. I will stand by that.
I don't think it's just an Eagles problem. I think it's an NFL problem.
All I have to say about it is Clay Matthews, you keep doing what you're doing, bud. Because in my opinion, I don't care if you take that penalty. Hitting the quarterback is still going to help you.
Yeah.
A lot. Because you're putting him on the ground.
So let's jump controversies with sports here. So last night it was game 4, right? Game 4 because they're up 3-1. All right. So it was game 4. Jose Altuve at the plate, who is playing where they said that he would be on the DL right now if it wasn't the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's the designated hitter.
Yeah.
If he's in the National League, he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, but he's up at plate. He hits a home run that a fan hits Mookie Betts' glove. Umpire Joe West calls interference, and replay stands the call, so it's not confirmed. And basically, the Astros come back, and I know we're going to talk about this a little more on our baseball podcast when both series are over.
Yeah.
But did you, 1, agree with the call? And 2, do you think that this is going to be a problem coming into Game 5, which is on as we're recording, and possibly if the series continues?
All right, so why don't we'll start with the first question as do we agree with the call? Absolutely not. That was a terrible call.
Okay. My thought about the call is that when you look at it as it was happening, I understand why he called it interference.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the replay.
I know, but the replay not showing that it was like just the bad camera angle. Everyone knew that it wasn't interference, but unfortunately, I think this is more of an issue, not whether it was like interference or that. It's the replay rules.
Yeah,
saying like you need to overturn their call. Yeah, like indisputable evidence. Like you should be able to reverse the call blatantly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Justin. Baseball and NFL, and I'm not sure if hockey has instant replay.
Yeah, they do.
But all right, so all sports in general with their instant replays, it's basically all right. The call on the field on the court, that's what we're gonna base off, and they're checking. Hey, is there enough to overturn what they just said?
And in my opinion, that's the problem. I don't think we should be looking at it as, so what was the call on the field or what was the call on the court? It should be a fresh set of eyes look at the play and they make the call. Because I think all of these refs, umpires, whatever you want to call them, whatever sport we're talking about, they all think they matter. They don't. If we could replace you with computers, we'd do it in a second because you're useless. You get calls wrong and you're the reason there's conspiracy. And that's a problem. Referees should not be determining games. That's like you look at the NBA. They released the what is it? The 2-minute report or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's the final. It's a 2-minute report after like every game.
At the end of games, they'll like review everything and they'll say if something was a bad call. And then you look at it and you're like, but that doesn't affect anything because the wrong team won the game. So in my opinion, what we should do is there's just a guy that sits in a room and waits. And then someone sends him a play. And then they go, okay, what's your call? He has no idea the situation. He doesn't know the score. He knows nothing. It's up to him to make the call. Because the way we're doing it ain't working, and that's the best idea I have.
Just one thing that not many people have talked about on this whole subject. So Joe West was the umpire that got this call, right?
Yeah.
So Joe West is up there in age. I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong age before. I believe. So he's up there in age, and he is a hefty man, to say the least. MLB replay. They have the umpire that makes the call have to go to the replay and have the headphones on, which they don't even talk to the guy. So I don't understand why. Just with a pace of play situation, which Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, says that there's an issue there. Having Joe West run from the right field line to third base to put on headphones, just what's the point of that? And I mean, that game went on till 1 a.m. Eastern time. So
I'm aware.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That replay took long enough. Just having Joe West have to run all the way out there and then run back is just a waste. I kind of think of with the technology we have when I'm watching tennis, which is very rarely, by the way. But if I'm watching tennis, they have that whole in or out line.
Oh, yeah, the Hawkeye thing.
We're talking about tennis. I'll be right back.
So if we have that hawk line thing, can we have that in baseball where we could have an invisible barrier going straight up from the wall? Is there a cross?
I mean, I'm sure you could, but like last night it was pretty blatant. Like,
well, yeah, but
very easily. Yeah. Like I said, like when you watch it like in real time, yeah, it looks like it's interference. But when you slow it down and you see Mookie Betts' elbow is like into the stand, almost hitting something, and the guy is like this trying to catch it. I mean, it kind of shows you.
And for those that don't know, once the player reaches out into the stands, it's fair game. The fans, if they want, they can take off the glove of Mookie Betts at that point. They can do anything they want. It's fair play for them. It's not just the player could do whatever. If a fan wanted to jump up and catch that ball, if it's ruled in the stands and Mookie Betts' glove is right under it, it's still fair play for the fans.
Yeah. I mean, MLB still has a lot of work to do as far as this replay thing. Like, and it goes for, like, while we're on the subject, it goes for every league too. Like, don't make it based on what the field is. Just whatever the call is, that's the call. It shouldn't have to, like, because I know, yes, then you're undermining the umpire. But get the call right, and this wouldn't be a problem.
No one should care. Nobody in their right mind cares about the umpire. You know who cares about him? his wife and his child, and honestly, his kids probably hate him as much as we do because he doesn't know how to do anything, and he tries to make rules up on the spot because umpires are terrible. They shouldn't be calling strike zones. They shouldn't be calling anything. Get me the robotic strike zone. I'm over it. I'm mad. Houston should have won that game. Bye.
Hey, Justin, weren't you an umpire one day?
Yeah.
So
but guarantee he did a better job.
You know why? Because I hated myself. Because I knew I blew calls.
Well, yeah, I could have told you that, and I didn't even attend the game.
It's better than that time. Better than that big story that happened with David Szabo, though.
Oh well, now that we're name dropping him. So let's go to a topic that John vehemently did not want to talk about because we have some time.
Wait, was there a UFC fight?
No.
But the halftime
John's favorite musical act in history in the world, Rihanna, has apparently said no to being a part of the Super Bowl due to the Colin Kaepernick situation. Still, I can't believe we're still talking about this 2 years after he hasn't played a game.
We're talking about it because you brought it up.
Well, actually, you brought it up, but she's not the first person to do this. Jay-Z said no last year.
Okay, first of all, then I'm a little offended because you're trying to like throw some shade at Rihanna here. I love you, Riri. I love you. Don't let Vince say these things because he's lying to you. Just like the league is lying to Colin Kaepernick when they say you shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Because you know what? Nathan Peterman is a starting quarterback in the NFL.
So is Derek Anderson now.
And Derek Anderson just got signed again. You're going to tell me he's not good enough? Get out.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that he isn't good enough. I think he should have a job.
Vin, I wasn't speaking to you.
No, But just to clear that up, that you were saying that this is like to me. I agree with you. He should have a job. I think it's very foolish to say that he isn't more capable than some of these backups or even starters in this league right now. And I think eventually, if he wants, because for all we know, he might just say, hey, I'm done with football now. I'm just going to focus on whatever the next chapter of my life is. If he wants to play, he should have a job.
Look, Brock Osweiler started an NFL football game last week. Do I need to say anything else?
He did damn well, though.
I mean, he did well, but I don't know how much that was done well and how much was the Bears just didn't cover the guy that's running 70 yards downfield.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, he's got a great arm. Like, I'll give him that, but
did you know he's never lost in overtime?
Well, yeah, because
he doesn't get to overtime.
Like, what, 2 overtime games?
4 or 5.
Really? Well, that's surprising.
Never lost in overtime.
I remember 1 from his Broncos days. But anyway, not the point. We're not going on a Brock Osweiler train right now. For some reason, Vin wanted to bring up this controversy that's all of us are on the same side with. We all think Colin Kaepernick should be in the league. Rihanna, I respect you. I love you. And do we know who is doing the halftime show?
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5.
Right, Maroon 5, because there's nothing white people love more than Maroon 5. And that's all I have to say about the matter.
I love Maroon 5, and I am personally pumped for this show.
Oh, yeah, she will be loved if that is not played.
All I'm saying is, you want to talk conspiracy, we once again are replacing a great not white artist with something that white people love.
Well,
so, Derek Anderson, though, guys, let's go. Let's go.
But I guess John kind of hit the nail on the head. But I mean, if Rihanna wants to do it, whatever. You do you, girl. You. I mean, it's the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm going to be more invested in the game at the end of the day. I really don't care who performs.
Exactly.
I think the last time I was genuinely excited was maybe Katy Perry. And that was just in the first 5 minutes because she came out on a giant tiger lion something.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was pretty excited when Coldplay did it just because I was like,
dare you guys dismiss
what was going on. But
what?
Bruno Mars, man.
Oh, that was the best part of about that performance was when he brought out the Red Hot Chili Peppers to perform. 100%. That was the best. That was the best thing about it, and it wasn't him.
But there are a lot of people that watch Super Bowl solely for the halftime show.
Well, yeah.
And you know what? They're gonna have a great time this year with Maroon 5.
because nothing says Atlanta.
Chicken wings and waiting for the second half to start.
Yeah, nothing says Atlanta Super Bowl like Maroon 5.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I think that's enough of the Super Bowl and our very short Colin Kaepernick shout out.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, well, I'm glad you two agree. So something that I just actually pulled up from ESPN while I was changing my fantasy team while you guys were talking about Maroon 5.
Oh, Emmanuel Sanders, 19 points.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's actually why I checked. I wanted to make sure I had him in my lineup still.
Did you?
Yeah, I do. So,
Smart move.
so if anybody ever cares, I am ready. I have my 19 points. I lost last week because I didn't change my running back because I woke up late. And I lost by 1 point, and I had a running back who didn't play. So I was very upset.
You still won, though, didn't you?
No, I lost. I lost 121-120.
Oh, one measly point.
Yeah, I lost because Adam scored a touchdown.
Wait, whoa! Did you guys see that rant by Matthew Berry?
Oh, yeah.
Because he needed 1 point from
yeah.
Alfred Morris, and he got one carry that would have given it to him, but it got
no,
for a holding penalty.
So, guys, you guys want to talk college basketball or one more football story? I'll let you guys choose.
Basketball. Finn, why are we talking about college basketball?
Well, we talked about college and basketball, so I wanted to know if you wanted to talk about one story that ESPN put up 2 hours ago.
Oh, a story. I thought you meant you wanted to preview.
Sure.
Oh, no.
Sure, let's hear it.
So, the defense attorney says Kansas's Bill Self requested $20,000 payment for Silvio De Souza. I didn't read through this, so the attorney for Adidas told the jury that they approved a $20,000 payment to the guardian of the current Kansas player Silvio De Souza, only after Self and Kansas assistant coach requested the payment through former Adidas consultant TJ Gasnola. So for you, again, to jump off of what I said on our NCAA talk earlier, if you think these guys aren't getting paid, you are just trying to put up an oblivion.
You're an idiot if you don't think they're getting paid under the table.
I mean, yeah, we all know they're getting paid under the table. My argument was they're not going to have to deal with the crap behind getting paid under the table. Because the thing is, they aren't all getting paid under the table.
Only the big name recruits.
Only the big name programs are really paying guys.
Did you hear the Zion Williamson story that came out?
No, I just saw him hit that massive, 3/4 shot at the Duke scrimmage.
Oh, no, apparently when he was looking at Kansas State, he asked reportedly for $20,000 in cash, and then he went to Duke. So I'm assuming they said no.
I mean, Duke had that money in his account within 10 minutes of him asking. It was on its way to the bank before he could get out 20 thou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is nothing new. I think people are really just starting to realize, something fishy's going on here. But I mean, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to realize that people are going to get paid.
Exactly.
I have a question for the two of you. How much do you think a school would have paid LeBron or Kobe to go to their school? What do you think was the max number they would give them?
Well, it was back in the day, so I'm gonna say
I think LeBron would have had a bigger story.
Yeah, I think LeBron's would have been bigger because
LeBron would have had his own shoe deal.
Coming out of high school, I mean, LeBron was huge. I mean, I had to watch More Than a Game on Netflix because of a project last year. And just watching him out of high school for the first time in a decade, he already had controversy that he almost couldn't play.
Yeah. I mean, if we're doing that hypothetical, I feel like LeBron James, whatever school can go, here's $1 million.
Well, he almost went to Ohio State.
Yeah, and they could not go, here's $500,000. So
he could have gone there and played football for them.
Well, yeah, he could have gone there to play football, but the thing is, LeBron James realized, wait, you're going to make me the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and you're going to pay me how much? Oh, okay, cool. I'm going to the NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
So since we haven't even been an hour yet, let's just talk about Jalen Ramsey just going quiet. So
overrated.
After this whole every quarterback in the NFL sucks and is overrated, I can't even think of the name of the team. The Jacksonville Jaguars basically got destroyed. Blake Bortles, I think, threw for like 30-something yards in the game.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Yeah, it was just a bad game. And now he looked like he was talking proper in the post game, and it looks like he was just like, "All right, well, we're not good, so let's shut up a little bit." What did you guys think? Because we never talked about this, us three together. What do you think of his comments start coming into the year saying, "All right, this quarterback sucks. This one's okay, but this one's overrated."
Your quarterback's Blake Bortles. You have no argument. The end. I have no more. I really don't.
I mean, if you're gonna say that, you have to play well against them. And oh god, I don't even know what to say to it because now it just seems so outrageous. But at the time, I was like, I mean, he has a point. But like he was saying, like some of them are just bad, and I'm just like, yeah, they are.
Listen, all I'm saying is I want Carson Wentz to throw 5 touchdowns against him, and
in the London game.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's see what happens in London this week with Carson Wentz, and
I really don't.
Let's go from there.
I really don't think that they scare me, honestly.
Yeah. So
if I'm any team in the league.
Yeah. So he talked going into the year about 25 of the starting quarterbacks, and today in his press conference he talked for 1 minute 10 seconds.
Yep, that's classic Jalen Ramsey.
Yep. You know what they call that? An L.
But he's going to do this next offseason.
Oh well, of course
he does. He did this in college. He did this. He was like the talking. He was like the next big talking cornerback besides Richard Sherman.
Yeah, like I think that's what he got.
One big moment when he called out Michael Crabtree after the NFC Championship game.
Well, I mean, Richard Sherman had teams just not throw to his side of the field the whole game.
Yeah, but Jalen Ramsey was playing like that too. Like last year, like he was shutting down people, and I don't know if it's just because he's not getting any other help, or maybe he's just like regressing this year. But he just has not looked good, and neither has their entire defense.
They're also playing a lot more. I mean, you look at the Jaguars last year. There's a lot of run the ball, push it down the field, waste the clock, give that defense time to rest. It's really hard to do that when Blake Bortles is throwing 4 interceptions in the game, especially in the red zone. Like, I mean, how much can you really do as a defensive player when you're out there for so much of the game?
Yeah.
Especially against such good teams. Like, we're not talking about the Cowboys here. We're not talking about the Cowboys because they also kept them on the field a long time with the ground and pound. But you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have one of the most electric offenses I've ever seen. And you're asking the Jaguars defense to counter that while being on the field for almost the entire game? Like, what do you want them to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have much to say on that. I think Richard Sherman pretty much popularized, hey, I can get a lot more famous if I talk as a cornerback and I say, hey, these guys suck against me. But Jalen Ramsey hasn't been performing yet.
49ers and his team's, 1-5?
Well, I mean, he's at Legion of Boom days.
Yeah, true.
I don't know how much he's doing.
Richard Sherman, Legion of Boom before the torn Achilles was a much different Richard Sherman, though.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, he talked all that smack. They won 1 Super Bowl?
Well, they should have won the second.
Well, you know what?
Well, Pete Carroll's just an idiot for not giving it to Marshawn Lynch.
Listen, all I'm going to say is if I'm an NFL coach and I have the ball at the 1-yard line, I'm going to run it with Marshawn Lynch. I don't care the situation. I don't care if I don't have an offensive line. I'm going to trust Marshawn Lynch.
John Gruden said that before the season too. And what happened? Derek Carr threw a pick at the 1.
Well, you know what? No.
So you can say everything you want, but at the end of the day, you're always going to throw an interception at the 1, no matter how hard you try.
I think it's just Marshawn Lynch at this point. He attracts the 1-yard interception.
Did you hear like Marshawn after that happened? He was like, "I'm used to it."
Yeah.
Honestly, it makes me really upset that I had. For those who don't know, I spell my name without an H. I spell it Jon, and it's really offensive to me that John Gruden spells his name the same way, and he's come out like this and be a trash coach. Really offensive to us Johns that spell our names without an H. So I personally think he should take the H as my personal take here. Take the H.
You see, when you first talked to me, I thought that you just missed the H.
No, I did not spell the name wrong. That's just the way I spell it. Because my full name is Jonathan, and I do not spell Jonathan with that extra H because that would just be dumb.
That would be DHUMB. I tried.
Yeah.
Good job. Anyway.
So let's jump into Week 7 of the NFL. John has the lines for each game. We started this last week. Again, I'd like to humble brag that John is horrible at his picks. And I defeated him.
Because the Broncos had a backdoor cover.
I would like to say that the
Broncos won because it snowed.
I would like to say that the Broncos will not have a backdoor cover this week because they are currently up 28-3 in the second quarter.
28-3 is the most dangerous lead in football, though.
Also,
not against Josh Rosen.
Just like 3-1 is the worst finals lead to have, 28-3 is the worst football lead to have.
I don't know. I think 3-0 would be a little bit more.
No.
You know what's a great lead to have, though, Justin? 41-33.
You see, I thought you were just going to leave you hanging. So, John, you can
leave me hanging.
John, just because I'm a nice guy and because you're 0-1 against me, I'll let you start with which game do you want to talk about first?
Okay, first of all, Vin, you have one more win, and this is not a weekly competition. This is a season competition.
Oh, did you decide?
Justin and I are tied with 7 games. You're ahead by 1 with 8 because of 1 game.
So wait, did you guys decide that you guys are teaming for these?
No.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
That's the picks last week, Vin.
I sent the picks in the day before.
Oh, I didn't see him. All right, so I'm up 1.
Yes.
Okay. So
hang on. Would you like me to write it down, Vin?
No, I have it. I have a gigantic book with no pen here. So I guess you should write it down.
I'll write it down.
Wow.
What is wow?
Oddshark, the official odds site of the Long Islander podcast.
Not yet.
Predicted score for the Chargers game.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Anyway, I now have
that's up 1-0. By the way, I don't know.
Official Temple University portfolio to take down these notes.
Man, you might as well just give up what apartment and room you're in right now.
We have 12 followers. Anyway, so let's get on with our predictions. I'm going to read them, then Vin's going to give his take, and then Justin's going to give his. And then we'll come back to me, and I'll give my quick little prediction on it.
Sure.
And that's what we'll do. So right now we're going to start off with our early London game on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have the Los Angeles Chargers, quote-unquote, hosting the Tennessee Titans. The spread is currently favoring the Chargers by 6.5 points.
So you said the Titans and Chargers?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to say Chargers on that with the 6 giving up. The Titans just don't look good. I mean, I've never been a fan of Mariota that much. And the Chargers, I mean, I said it last week, they're the San Antonio Spurs of the NFL. They're boring, and I didn't think much of them, but I think they're going to at least get a touchdown lead.
You are taking the Chargers.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to go Chargers, too. I think Phillip Rivers is having a career year. I mean, the defense is good for Tennessee, but I just think the Chargers are end up winning this game. Maybe mainly because of defense against the Titans.
I think watching the Titans game last week, the way that they played against the Ravens had 11 sacks, I believe.
Oh, yeah, 11.
They had 11 sacks in 4 quarters of football. They only won 21 to whatever, but 11 sacks on a mobile quarterback, that's not what you want. So I'm going to finish the sweep. We are all going with the Los Angeles Chargers, as they are so unfortunately named, even though they do not play in Los Angeles and they no longer play in San Diego. But anyway, moving on to the next game.
Well, wait, before you say that, you guys are very smart. You're going to just follow my pick every time?
Then it's the first pick, and it was a easy choice. Moving on to pick number 2. The Indianapolis Colts host the Buffalo Bills at home. It is a 7.5-point favorite for the Colts.
Wow, that game does not sound like I'm turning my TV on for that. I mean, that's tough. I don't know if I trust Andrew Luck's shoulder for 7.5 extra points. I'm gonna go Buffalo. I think. Oh man,
with Derek Anderson.
Yeah, they don't have enough tape on him.
Starting quarterback.
They don't have enough tape on him. Kelvin Benjamin's going to have a big game, and they are going to win. No, they're not going to win, but they're going to have at least 7 points in there.
I got to go with Indianapolis. I don't.
Thank you for a 2-game lead, Justin.
I don't see Derek Anderson coming out here and lighting the world on fire like apparently Vin thinks he can, because they don't have any tape on him. They have plenty of tape on him. He's been in the league like 40 years. I'm sure they can find a good game and they know everything he's going to do.
I don't think that they think he's going to let up the game. I just think he's just going to be able to keep him in a striking distance that they won't be able to do. It's going to be a backdoor cover.
You know, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm not agreeing with Vin. I just think both of these teams are so terrible that this could end up being a game where less than 7.5 points are scored.
3-0 game.
I could see this. You know, the problem with this game being in a dome is it can't snow. But you put this game in like Buffalo, and honestly, this could be a 0-0 tie. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Buffalo, because I don't know if Andrew Luck can play more than 5 plays without throwing an interception. And I also don't know that Derek Anderson is going to be – he can't be any worse than Nathan Peterman, can he?
Do they have T.Y. Hilton?
You hand the ball to the running back 20 times a game. You can't be worse. You can't. So I'm going to go with Buffalo. I feel like there's no way he can be worse, because their defense hasn't looked I mean, it's hard to say because Houston's not very good, and also their quarterback was playing with a million injuries last week.
And
it's hard to kind of gauge where Buffalo's at. But because of the fact that Indianapolis has looked, they play to their level of competition almost, but worse. It's like right there, but not. So for that reason, I'm going to take Buffalo. I don't feel great about it. I'm hoping this is one of the – I think it's the half point that's really throwing me off.
Yeah.
Because if it was like a 6.5-point spread, I'd probably take Indy. I think they win by a touchdown, but with that half point, I'm going to go with Buffalo. So with game number 3, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Our Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Carolina Panthers, and they are currently a 4.5-point favorite.
Who are the Phillies?
Justin start with this one.
Wait, who's 4.5?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles are favored by 4.5.
Okay.
So I'm going to let Justin start because it is our team. So I'm going to let him start, then we'll go to you, Vin, and then we'll come back to me. So, Justin, after you.
Eagles. All I have to say. Just look at the stats. I mean, I think here's an underappreciated storyline for the Eagles on Sunday. Brian Dawkins is getting his Hall of Fame ring at halftime. And I think that whole mojo is just going to light up the stadium. And plus, I mean, I don't know if you've been to an Eagles game lately, but the stadium is rocking. And it's hard for anyone to play there. I mean, Cam looked pretty good against Washington last week.
That's debatable.
Well, towards the end, he brought them back in that game.
He also, on the last drive of the game, threw all 4 passes 5 yards over his receiver's head. So
I agree. I also agree with that. But
for that reason, even though last week I had a crush on Greg Olsen since he's on my fantasy team, I'm going Philly.
Yeah, I'm going.
Why are you over there? The camera's over here, bud.
I know. I'm readjusting.
Okay. So, you know what? You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
There it is. Vin, your turn.
Well, since there's only 2 Phillies in Philly, I'm going Carolina because I want to be correct. And
You're wrong.
And I mean, they've been playing pretty close football games the past, basically since the Steelers. So when the season opened,
They also have not played good teams. Just saying.
I mean, they played the Falcons, who aren't doing that great. They played the Bengals, who I believe are still leading the division.
Yeah, by like a half game.
They played a 1-score game against the NFC East leading Redskins.
Again, by a half game.
I think Philly's going to be emotional. They haven't looked good in the first half outside of that Giants game, but I think that's more to do with the Giants' failures than the Eagles' success.
I mean, we looked great in the first half against Tennessee, and then we collapsed in the second. But hey, Vin, I wrote down Carolina. You're taking Carolina.
Yeah.
Thank you for the victory.
I mean, one more quick thing about the Eagles. I think the game against the Giants, it was a bad game for the Giants, and it was kind of an easy gimme game for the Eagles. But I mean, I feel like that just even a game like that just gives you confidence. Carson was able to I think Carson is actually really no rust at all anymore. I think he's a lot more comfortable getting up to speed with the game. I think the defense found their swagger. So I think if all that can translate back onto Sunday, I think it's going to be a problem for the Panthers.
All right, moving on to our next game, we have the Cleveland Browns and to take Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vin, your thoughts as the boy in Tampa?
Well, what was the line? I didn't hear it.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. It is 3.5 favoring the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, this is Jameis's first game in Tampa since the suspension. I do like Mike.
EW? You think he's going to eat a W?
No, I don't think he's eating a W. But I do like Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, and that whole crew. Again, I still think that I'm going to say this every week, that Fitzpatrick should be starting right now. But the Browns, I mean,
New York Jets, if we're being honest with ourselves here.
But the Browns, I mean, they've played some good football, some very close games. They're not last year's Cleveland Browns anymore, and I think we're starting to realize that as NFL watchers and fans. But I don't think Tampa has the defense. I think they have a better chance of just having a scout team out there. So I think they're going to easily have Cleveland with 3.
All right, Justin.
I'm going to take Cleveland. Cleveland 3. Cleveland at 3.
All right, Vin. What'd you say again? Sorry, I wanted to
Cleveland.
You took Cleveland?
Yes.
I think Baker's a stud. I mean, you have Jarvis Landry, Callaway, Njoku. I think all of it just kind of translates into a lot of playmakers that I don't think the Bucs have the personnel to personally match up with them. I mean, their front seven is good, but their DBs aren't. I don't think they can catch up with Jarvis Landry or anyone. So I think it's just going to be a big game. Carlos Hyde, I think, is actually really underrated going into the matchup. I think they're just going to run him to the outside the whole time and just let him do his thing. So, I mean, I have to go Cleveland.
I'm going to go Cleveland as well because I have not learned my lesson. I'm going to continue to slurp Baker Mayfield because I love him.
Same.
And I'm going to continue to take the Cleveland Browns until eventually I lose because of it, which I kind of did last week. But you know what? Cleveland it is. Moving on. We're going to talk about the only other team to ever go 0-16. The Detroit Lions are traveling to Miami where they are favored by 3 points. 3-point favorites on the road in Miami. Then your thoughts.
I have to applaud you first off. You're starting to learn how to segue. I am very proud of you.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks. I did for you, bud.
I'm taking Detroit. Matt Stafford, he has a great arm. I mean, you can't say anything about that. Otherwise, you're wrong. And, I mean, they have a pretty good offense this year. Now, can they hold some teams to score a little bit less? I don't know. But I think Detroit has a pretty good game this week. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay. I'm also going to go Detroit.
You got any more to say on it while I write this down?
Yeah. I love Matt Stafford. I love the trio of wide receivers that they have. Golden Tate in the slot, stud. Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, both big red zone targets for Stafford. Stafford loves to throw to them. And then plus you have like the 4 or 5. I couldn't even tell you all the running backs that the Lions have. They have Abdullah, Riddick. Well, I don't think Riddick's playing this year. Well, playing.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, is he playing this season? I thought he got hurt.
I think he's playing. He might be a little bit hurt. He's losing a lot of minutes to that rookie.
Oh, to Kerryon Johnson?
Yeah, he's losing a lot of minutes to that kid. That kid's looking really good.
So like Kerryon Johnson, LeGarrette Blount, Amir Abdullah, Theo Riddick. I mean, like with all that, and plus you have Matt Patricia's defense, which I think is finally starting to click. I think you saw it against the Patriots, like what they can be, and if they just play up to that, I think they have a really good chance to win the game.
All right, and finally, I am going to agree. I think Detroit's going to win. I know Miami's undefeated at home, but last week I don't think it was as much the Dolphins winning as it was the Bears losing. Cody Parkey, all I got to say is thanks for not being the Eagles kicker anymore, bud, because you're not good. So thanks for leaving. Love you, Jake Elliott. I don't care if you miss sometimes because you hit that 60-plus yarder against the Giants, and for that reason, you will always be my kicker for as long as you like to be. So I'm going to take Detroit -3 because I think they win by at least a field goal. I think it also hurt last week that the weather in Miami was so crazy. I don't know what it's supposed to be like down there this week, but I think Detroit's going to be able to pull it out because they just have so much talent. I think Kenny Golladay could go for 2 scores this weekend against a bad Dolphins defense. So that's pretty much my take. I'm going Detroit by 3.
One more thing on the whole thing we didn't talk about. I thought one of us was going to bring it up. Tannehill's not playing this week.
Also that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to say.
Yeah, they said that he'll be about 3 weeks.
All right, well, Brock Osweiler won a game last week, which was surprising.
But, I mean, if Osweiler plays the way he did.
That's
a shootout.
I don't know how much that was Osweiler and how much that was just bad defensive coverage by Chicago.
I don't know, man. He looked good.
Speaking of bad defensive coverage,
there we go.
We're going to transition into the Houston Texans going into Jacksonville, where Houston is currently the underdog, of course, because they have not looked good. They haven't been able to put points on the board. Jacksonville is currently a 4.5-point favorite at home.
Give me Jacksonville. Again, just as you touched, Texans haven't looked good this year. I mean, one stat that I found remarkable is Deshaun Watson has been sacked more times than Eli Manning and a few notable quarterbacks. This Texans team is struggling. Watson's coming off an ACL tear. So, I mean, that might be a part of it. So he hasn't been able to move. I think the Jaguars have a bounce-back game at home after looking very bad against the Cowboys. I think that they have a good game. Despite Blake Bortles, I think he's going to have a better game than that 30-something yard performance. And 4 points is a give me. So give me the Jaguars.
You know, I said the gimme was I said the 10.5 against Dallas was a gimme. I literally wrote on the paper that I sent John, this spread is a joke. And I picked the Jaguars.
And they let you down.
But I don't learn, so I'm going to go with the Jaguars. But here's why. The Jaguars, regardless of how their secondary is playing, their front seven is still one of the top.
Yeah.
And the Houston Texans have allowed by far the most quarterback hits this season. I think they're close to doubling.
Yeah.
The second worst team. So, I mean, if you put that front seven, if they're aggressive, they're going to have their way with the offensive line. Deshaun Jackson's not going to have any room to throw. No one, whoever they decide to start at running back this week isn't going to be able to.
Yeah.
And in other news, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't in practice today with a foot injury, so they don't know if he's playing.
Well, that's unfortunate for our fantasy team.
Yep.
But I also am going to take Jacksonville. I think Houston, if they have a healthy Deshaun Watson, this is a completely different matchup.
Yeah.
But Deshaun Watson, he kind of looks like Peyton Manning with a broken neck right now, because I believe the stats last week were he had a punctured lung. I think he had a broken rib. He had something wrong with his lungs, and then he had some other injury.
I didn't even hear about this.
These are all current injuries that he played through in that game. I think so. He can't run, which is 90% of his game because he's a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason that Jacksonville got beat so badly last week, don't get me wrong, they lost that game. I think the reason it was so bad was because of the fact that Dak Prescott was able to get out of the pocket and run. And I think Deshaun's not going to be able to do that. I don't know how his health is right now, but if he's not able to move the way he does, this game's not – you know what? I'm taking Jacksonville again. But I think this could be another one of those games where, like Tennessee versus Jacksonville was, where it could end up being a 12-9 game where it's just
all field goals.
Just all field goals, and Vin's going to be horrified because he wants to get rid of kickers altogether. But I'm going to take Jacksonville just because Houston has not been able to put any points on the board. And while Blake Bortles looked terrible the past couple weeks, he always plays so much better at home.
Yeah.
He's not a good passer, but when you see him at home, he somehow pulls off these runs that make him look like the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL, which makes no sense. So I'm going to take Jacksonville. I don't feel that great about it. And honestly, if Houston was fully healthy, like you said, DeAndre Hopkins being out, that's also going to be a huge loss for them.
Yeah, hopefully he can play. But
if Hopkins plays, I think they have a chance to cover spread. I don't think that they're going to be able to win this game at all. I think I could be proven wrong because Texas just blew Jacksonville out of the water last week. But I'm going to go Jacksonville simply because of just the health factor.
Now, before you jump into the next game, as you broke,
I had a segue, you know.
Oh, as you break news to me and Justin about the partially collapsed lung, which apparently is legit.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson has been hit 70 times this year and 25 sacked.
Yeah.
So far.
So, as I said, I was talking about Blake Bortles. Speaking of highly paid, overrated quarterbacks, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm loving the segues. Loving them.
So we are going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings heading into New York to play Vin's New York Jets. The spread right now is currently favoring the Vikings by 3.5. Vin, I think we're going to let you go first since it is your home team.
So this is tough for me because the Jets have looked good the past few weeks. Coming back, winning the last two games. And I really want to pick the Jets, but my heart is telling me that it's going to be the Vikings. I mean, Thielen has got 100 yards every game.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is still a factor. They have a very good offense, and I think their defense is even better than their offense.
Yeah.
So, taking my heart out of this one, I think it's just going to be Vikings winning by a touchdown or more. So, give me the Vikings.
All right, Justin? Oh, well, Justin's having a little bit of cough and stuff.
Okay,
you good, bud? You ready? All right, go ahead. Remember, 3.5.
Okay, 3.5. I'm going to go Minnesota. I have said from the beginning, I am not a Sam Darnold believer. I think their secondary is good enough to shut down because Quincy Enunwa isn't going to play. So that leaves you Robbie Anderson. I think Xavier Rhodes can handle him pretty well, especially if they do zone down the middle or over the top. I think their front seven is also really good, that they're just going to get pressure. and like Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. If it's not one, it's to the other. You can't cover both of them. You can only hope to contain them. So I think overall, Kirk Cousins is gonna go into the end zone and do that little stupid touchdown dance he did this past week.
Oh, no arm dance.
Yeah, man.
So
I have Minnesota.
So this is a tough one for me because, as our resident statistician Eric Phillips knows, I do not like either of these quarterbacks. He loves
and our unpaid intern, Eric Phillips.
What'd you say, Vin?
Also, our unpaid intern.
Well, we like to give him a better name than that. He is an unpaid intern. He's not even on the podcast, but we're calling him the resident statistician because he wants to be Jonah Hill from Moneyball.
I wonder if he's winning his basketball.
But anyway, so he loves Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins. I think neither of them are very good. I think they're both overrated. But do you know what happened the last time the Vikings played a team in the AFC East, Ben?
Can you guys both stop with your Sam Darnold slander? I am not appreciating this.
Vin.
It's because I believe in Baker Mayfield.
This is all set up. Do you know what happened the last time Minnesota Vikings played an AFC East team?
No.
They played the Buffalo Bills at home.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
And they lost a spread. They lost a game where they were favored by 13 points.
I apologize because I forgot the Buffalo Bills were in the AFC East for a second.
And you know what else happened to that? A rookie quarterback absolutely tore them up. And you know what? The Jets have looked surprisingly good this whole season.
I don't know about that.
Till Sunday.
I am picking the New York Jets because
Wow.
I think Kirk Cousins is terrible. And I think we're finally going to have the week where we see, oh, wait, I'm sorry. He's played trash the past few weeks. He had a great second half last week, but only because the Cardinals defense, the Cardinals offense choked, and they, much like they are tonight, having turnover after turnover. I think the New York Jets have a real chance to cover the spread. I mean, being a home team as the underdog, I think they could certainly cover it. I could see this coming down to a Dan Bailey field goal to win it. But honestly, part of me thinks the Jets could win this game. I don't like Sam Darnold that much, but I do really like Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah.
So I think what they're going to have to do is stack the box to try and let Sam Darnold beat them. But I don't think they have a cornerback that can cover Robbie Anderson because Robbie is so quick that I think he could burn them for a touchdown or two. And once that happens, they're going to have to free up the box, and that's why I think Sam Darnold could win this game.
Yeah.
So moving on from one rookie quarterback that I think is completely overrated, along with the most overrated quarterback in the NFL right now, we're going to move on to a quarterback that was highly overrated, but now has become the most overrated of all time, Tom Brady.
Yes, I knew it.
We're going to move on to the New England Patriots traveling into Chicago, where they're currently a 2.5-point favorite.
That's it?
2.5 points on the road against the Bears, who lost last week to the Miami Dolphins.
That is interesting.
Then I want the people to see you dance, so you start.
Sorry, I was just really proud that I knew that you were going Patriots on that one.
I'm learning.
Give me the Patriots, as much as a Jets fan would ever say. Give me the Patriots.
Well, you did take the Patriots last week, and they lost.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't lose, but they didn't cover.
I'm sorry. The Chiefs had to do that to me. But this Bears offense, again, who's their quarterback, John?
For the New England
Bears? No, for the Bears.
The Bears? You choose to call him the worst quarterback in the NFL, Mitchell Trubisky. I certainly don't agree with that take. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so Mitchell Trubisky is your quarterback. You're not winning games. This New England Patriots offense has revitalized with Josh Gordon playing, with Gronk being able to be an option again, with Julian Edelman returning. I think they showed they could put up some points against some high-scoring offenses. They scored 43 last week. I think they can put some pressure on the Bears, and the Bears aren't going to score much. So give me, 2 points? I think the Patriots,
2.5.
I think the Patriots could at least win by a field goal, if not a lot more.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to Justin's opinion of this game.
Give me the Bears. I think here's why.
Is this because of kicking and screaming?
No, not at all. Not even though I love Mike Ditka. The Bears have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, and Tariq Cohen's been heating up of late. Typically, the Patriots haven't been doing well against a receiving running back like Tariq Cohen. You saw with the Lions, they got torched on the ground by receiving yards from a running back, like all 4 of them.
Yeah. Somehow LeGarrette Blount got receiving yards.
Exactly. And you know what? I honestly, really, truly believe in this Bears defense. I mean, with Khalil Mack out there, you could send him in every play and just make Tom Brady wish he retired.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's one of like the more even games that you're going to see this season right now. But I'm going to go with Bears.
It's okay. It's okay to be wrong.
Hang on, Vin. I want to hear. I want to hear a little bit more from you. Why don't you keep? I want to hear a few more things from you about your Bears hatred, so I can submit them to Old Takes Exposed.
I don't have a Bears hatred. I just think Mitchell Trubisky is the worst quarterback. There's 25 teams.
Derek Anderson is now a starting quarterback.
Yeah, but I think I would rate as a whole the Bears quarterback situation worse than Josh Allen, who is going to eventually be their franchise quarterback.
I mean, Mitchell Trubisky also threw for 6 touchdowns in the game.
Yes, but do you know who he threw that against?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes.
However, Vin, as we've tried to tell you multiple times, he threw for 6 touchdowns.
Most of them in the first half.
I understand.
Well,
it's also 35-3 right now, if you didn't say.
I think it's time to move on to my pick. And this is a game I've been struggling a lot with because I think Chicago's been hang on, let me explain. Because of the fact that the Patriots are road favorites, I think it makes it a little bit more of a struggle. But because of how small the spread is, I'm going to go New England. I think Chicago keeps this a close game for a really long time. Just because of the fact that they're going to be able to script so many plays. And when Mitchell Trubisky has scripted plays, he does very, very well. But what I think it's really going to come down to is the fact that Patrick Mahomes last week couldn't get it done because Bill Belichick is still the greatest coach of all time. And you know who's not the greatest coach of all time? Matt Nagy. I think he's a terrible coach so far. I mean,
there's going to be growing pains.
There's going to be growing pains, but you know, he'll have a week where his quarterback throws 6 touchdowns. Then he'll also have a week where his team looks great in the first half because all the plays are scripted. And then the second he has to start calling actual plays, he melts down. It's the Andy Reid effect.
Do you know John has a hatred for every quarterback? Not every quarterback, every coach in the NFL?
Yeah, but there's a difference between a little bit of fall off and no longer a competent offense. So for that reason, I'm also going to take the Patriots because I think Tom Brady, if you give him the ball at the end of the game, he's going to win it every time. I think this is close solely because Khalil Mack is the best defensive player in the league by far.
Like taking points from a baby.
I just don't know that like you saw it last week, Brock Osweiler carved out the Bears defense, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was like 100-some degrees. But the Patriots are not a team that are going to be affected by the 39-degree weather of Chicago. So I'm personally going to go with the Patriots in this one just because it's such a small spread. I was very surprised that it wasn't bigger. If New England was favored by like 7.5, I'd probably take Chicago in this one for sure. But because of the fact that a field goal can win the Patriots not only the game but this spread, I'm going to go New England. So moving on to we're going to move on to the New Orleans Saints, who are heading into Baltimore to take the Baltimore Ravens on, where they are currently 2.5-point underdogs to the Ravens, who have looked surprisingly good this year. Again, 11 sacks. I was hoping we were going to have our resident statistician here so I could once again ask him to double-check the stats for me. But he just returned from basketball practice, and he got ice out of the freezer, so I don't know what's going on there. I hope you're feeling okay, buddy. Anyway, moving on to the picks. Vin, Baltimore favored by 2.5 at home against New Orleans and Drew Brees. What are you doing?
What's the old saying in football? Defense wins championships, right?
Correct.
Well, this is not a championship game, so I'm going to go with my fantasy quarterback, Drew, whatever his name is in the middle, Breeze. Yeah, I think their offense is just a lot better. And I've been burned trying to say that offenses don't win championships. So I think it might be my heart, but I think the Saints are going to take this.
Justin?
Well, here's a stat, because I know we love fun stats here.
We do love our stats.
Drew Brees has beaten every single team in the National Football League except for one. That one is the Baltimore Ravens. But that changes on Sunday. They win. They don't just win. They demolish. Drew Brees, you don't count him out. I mean, Ted Ginn did just hit injured reserve today. But we'll see.
So you're taking New Orleans.
He has to be.
I think Kamara and Ingram is going to be too much of a problem for them.
Thank you both, because I will never take Drew Brees in a game where the weather is below 70 degrees. Because Drew Brees he's terrible on the road against a great defense, as we've seen by the fact that his playoff record on the road is god-awful. He's good at home because he plays in a dome, but when he has to play outside when the weather's at all cold, and 52 degrees might be cold to him from being down in the South, I'm taking Baltimore because last week they had 11 sacks. 11 sacks. And this New Orleans Saints defense, it's not that good. I think John Brown for the Ravens, he's such a speedy guy. He's going to do what Ted Ginn would have done in this game. I think the Ravens just have such a good front seven, and the Saints don't have a good enough offensive line that they're going to be counting on Kamara and Ingram to win them this game. And they very well could, but I'm going to take Baltimore because of the fact that Drew Brees is not great on the road outdoors. He's great down in the NFC South because he plays in domes so much of the time, but I'm never going to take him in a cold weather game. So for that reason, I'm taking Baltimore. Now, moving not very far away to the other side of Maryland, into Washington, D.C., we have the Dallas Cowboys coming in to face the division-leading Washington Redskins. So the spread is currently Washington favored by 1.5 following Dallas's big win over Jacksonville. Vin, what do you think?
I'm going to go Redskins on this. Cowboys have not looked like the same team on the road as they do at home. They lost a receiver. I don't remember exactly who it was. It wasn't a big name, as many of the receivers are nowadays. They lost him to suspension for 3 weeks.
Terrence Williams.
Yeah. So they lost a wide receiver on a very depleted wide receiving core. And the Redskins have looked like the best team in a shitty division so far. So I think the Redskins will have the win. I think it's going to be a field goal, but it's still going to be a win nonetheless.
Justin?
I'm really hoping for a tie here. I feel so disgusting having to pick one. But I hate Dallas so much. I think Washington being at home helps. The key to the game is honestly just stop Zeke. If you stop Zeke, I don't think Dak is good enough to really torch up anyone. I mean, maybe he showed flashes, but I think it was more of like a fluke game for him against the Jags. I think it was kind of like the Jags were kind of playing down to their opponent and it bit them in the ass. But yeah, I guess I'll go Washington. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up for me. Washington looked good. They've looked bad. So is Dallas. But I'll take the home team in this one.
I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. You want some stats? I'm going to give you some stats. The Washington Redskins are 0-3 the past 3 times they've played the Cowboys. The last time, actually, I believe it's 0-4, actually. The last time that Washington was able to beat Dallas was January of 2016. And they have a really good pass defense. They do not have a very good rush defense. The only reason that they were able to get Carolina to be so bad last week was because Cam Newton had to throw the ball so many times. You looked at Dallas last week against Jacksonville. They ran the ball down their throats. And that's why I think Dallas has the ability to win this game, because it has nothing to do with Dak Prescott being able to throw. It has everything to do with the fact that he's a mobile quarterback and the fact that Ezekiel Elliott always feasts on the Washington Redskins. I don't want either of these teams to win. I wish somehow – I would love a tie. A tie would be great. But Dallas winning helps the Eagles in the standings for now. So for that reason, I'm taking Dallas because they've won the past 4. They look a lot better than Washington has, because Washington has some wins, but none of them have really been dominant wins. It's more just been they played a hobbled Aaron Rodgers. They played Andrew Luck, who just is turnover city this year, and they played Cam Newton, who can't throw a ball to a receiver unless he's 8 feet tall. For that reason, I'm going with Dallas. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, I already said the Redskins.
I meant your thoughts on what I just said, because you had a funny face going on during it.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an 8-foot tall receiver, and I think
that's my point, Vin. There are none.
I made one.
Oh,
he has completed a pass this season, so your stats are incorrect.
wait, what's that?
He has not completed a pass to a guy 7'11" or under.
In the fourth quarter on the last drive, when it's first down, second down, third down, or fourth down.
And I also think we've exceeded our NFL ties for the year. If we weren't going to get one every week, we have 2, and I think that's good enough.
I mean,
I would love a tie every week.
We're still getting overtime every week, so
overtime, yes.
I think we're still going to get ties. As much as a lot of people hate the tie, I think if you can't win it in 10 minutes, you don't deserve to win. So unless the plan is we're going to switch to more of a college football rule, because college overtime is by far the best overtime.
I love college football overtime.
Whether or not you like college football, you definitely like their overtime format. So for that reason, we love teams that score a lot of points, but I don't think this is one of those games where it's going to be a lot of points scored. But you know where I do think a lot of points are going to be scored?
Where?
California, because the Los Angeles Rams are going to be taking on the San Francisco 49ers this week. The Rams have the best offense in all of football by far. 49ers, I thought they were going to have one of those offenses, and then Jimmy G got hurt. But somehow C.J. Beathard has looked better than Jimmy G, dare I say. He's looked like a phenomenal quarterback in his time as the 49ers starter, which I think it just shows how good a coach that Kyle Shanahan is. And I think both of these guys are great coaches, unlike the last game where I think both coaches are terrible. So in a great coaching matchup, the 49ers at home are 9.5-point underdogs. So with the Rams being 9.5-point favorites, Vin, what do you have?
Colin Kaepernick, who? You don't need Colin when you have CJ. I think that 9.5 is a lot. And the 49ers offense has looked like they could do stuff. I mean, they almost beat the Packers on Monday. I mean, the Packers aren't the Rams by many senses of the word outside of quarterback, but I think I'm going to go with the Rams actually here. It's hard, but I think the Rams have a chance to just open this game up and just dominate from the beginning.
I think this is one of the easier games to pick this week. I'm going to have to go with the Rams. I don't see the 49ers having any answer for Todd Gurley. I mean, Cooper Kupp is out, so maybe that's one less guy that they have to worry about. But, I mean, you also have Brandon Cooks. You also have Robert Woods. I mean, they have one of the fastest offenses in the league. And the Rams actually remind me of the Eagles last season because their defense isn't as good as I think everyone thinks they are because they do allow a lot of points and a lot of yards per game. It's just the fact that they can score so many points on you that it doesn't matter. They're trying to do what the Houston Rockets are trying to do. They're doing what the Houston Rockets want to do. which is just outscore your opponent and worry about defense later. I mean, I think when you thought you had Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, I think everyone thought like it's going to be like shutdown city, but it hasn't been. And Ndamukong Suh hasn't, and Aaron Donald. Yeah, they're good, but I don't think they're really making the big splash that everyone completely expected from them this season. But I still have to go with the Rams. I mean, I don't think it'll be a miracle if the 49ers can pull off this game.
So cover the spread. Remember, you're not picking a winner.
Yeah, no, I know. To both.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. I think the 49ers cover the spread. I think it's too big. The 49ers, I do not think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be a lot like last week with the Rams, where it's backdoor cover. This is just such a big spread. I know that the Rams have looked amazing, but again, in the last 3 games they've had against the 49ers have actually won 2 of them. And I believe obviously it's 2 new coaches. 9.5 is just a little bit too big for me. You look at the 49ers, they haven't been getting demolished. They've been putting up a fight in pretty much every game. And also the Rams aren't great at covering spreads. They're 6-0, but they're 2-3-1 against the spread.
Oh wow.
Well, that math doesn't add up. But basically, they don't do great against the spread because they get such big spreads. Last week, Vin took Denver to burn me. So for this week, I'm going to take the 49ers to burn him because I think the 49ers have been playing with a lot of heart. I don't think they win this game, but I could see this being one of those where they lose by 7 or they lose by 8. They could lose by 9. I just think 9.5 is too big a spread. Consider Sean McVay is a great coach. I think Kyle Shanahan's also a great coach. And if C.J. Beathard can play even half as well as he did against Green Bay, I think they can cover 9.5 points. So moving on to another 2 teams that have kind of overperformed in expectations as well as the Rams. I mean, I think we all thought the Rams were good, but I don't think anyone thought they were going to be this good. Mm-hmm. But speaking of other teams that have really performed exceptionally well, we're going to move on to the Kansas City Chiefs, who are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals last week, they ended up losing to Pittsburgh on a terrible no call on that pick play, which burned me because, honestly, I'm a little sick of it. The Steelers get a lot of calls they shouldn't get, in my opinion. We see it in a lot of games. We saw it against the Chiefs. Even though the Chiefs blew them out, they didn't call a blatant pass way past the line of scrimmage for Ben Roethlisberger. I think the Steelers get a lot of calls that go their way. I think that's why Cincinnati got really badly burned last week. Don't get me wrong. We had Antonio Brown on our fantasy team, so I couldn't be too mad about it.
Yeah.
But Kansas City hosting at Arrowhead is a 6-point favorite against the Cincinnati Bengals. Vin?
It's hard for me to believe in these Bengals. I mean, they're always making the playoffs and not doing anything. So
keep in mind, this is a primetime game. This is Sunday Night Football.
The Chiefs' offense is too good, I think. I have to go with the Chiefs. I mean, look what they did going to Foxborough last week.
Justin?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to take Cincinnati with the spread. Honestly, I don't think the defenses of either team is enough to really put an end to them. Yeah. Or I think it's going to be a big shootout. I think it's going to be I think it's honestly going to be like Bucks Falcons 2.0.
Yeah.
It's just going to be Patrick Mahomes is going to throw like a crap ton of touchdowns and gain a crap ton of yards, and Kareem Hunt's going to do everything on his feet. Joe Mixon's been looking good since he came back from knee surgery. You also have Tyler Boyd, who is outplaying their franchise receiver AJ Green right now.
Yeah,
and you have AJ Green. So that if with those 2 guys, if you have a competent quarterback like Andy Dalton, like he's nothing special, but he's a more competent quarterback than Blake Bortles. Let's put that out.
I think you're forgetting this isn't a primetime game, and this is Andy Dalton a primetime game.
And Andy Dalton primetime games are just ridiculous. So
you're gonna take Cincinnati.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am not going to take Cincinnati. They're going into Arrowhead, which is one of the it's the hardest place to play in my opinion, in the NFL.
It's the loudest.
It's certainly the loudest. I mean, you can look at a lot of different places. But the Chiefs, even when they're bad, their fans show up because there's really nothing else to do in Kansas City, Missouri, besides go to Kansas City Chiefs games and Kansas City Royals games. So the Royals are terrible and not in the postseason. So for that reason, I think the Chiefs are going to have such a great advantage from their fans being there to help them. And Patrick Mahomes, somehow I think he's still underrated. Like, everyone's talking about him, but he's playing even better than I think we're giving him credit for.
I don't know. I hear a lot of people saying MVP. It's very hard to underrate.
Hang on. Let me explain. A lot of people are saying MVP. But here's why I say he's underrated. Because he's doing this in an Andy Reid offense. Somehow, he has taken this offense where Alex Smith didn't throw a ball more than 20 yards, didn't throw a single touchdown to a wide receiver a couple years ago. You've looked at Patrick Mahomes turn this team around. I've loved this kid since he was going to Texas Tech. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And I think against a bad Cincinnati defense that let Big Ben carve them up last week, I think he's going to do amazing because you saw it last week in the game, unfortunately for me, for Cincinnati. They got burned a lot by those wide receivers because there were so many speed receivers. Mm-hmm. And have you looked at the Kansas City Chiefs? Every one of those guys is a speed receiver. Tyreek Hill might have, like, I'm not talking about yards here, but he might be downfield and open 40 times during this game. Every play. He might just be able to be downfield. So I think the Chiefs are going to be able to win this, and I agree with you that it's going to be a shootout game. But because of the fact that it's a shootout, I think they win by a touchdown. And because of the fact that this is a 6-point spread, I think that's big. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm with you, Vin. And lastly, turning from a great matchup with two really good teams, we're going to go to a terrible matchup with two very underperforming teams. The New York Football Giants are traveling to Atlanta, where Atlanta is a 4.5-point favorite. Atlanta recently just shut down Devonta Freeman. Calvin Ridley is questionable this week. I believe Mohamed Sanu is also questionable. So Julio Jones, maybe he'll finally get a touchdown. But the New York Giants are 4.5-point underdogs on the road in Atlanta, in the Dome. What do you got, Ben?
First off, everybody shut up with this whole New York Football Giants thing. The Giants have been gone for a while. But
I mean, is their official name, but okay.
That is outside of my prediction. The Falcons have been underperforming a lot this year, obviously. It is also the Super Bowl being in Atlanta. I think it's doing that to them. But I'm still going to go Atlanta. I can't pick the Giants to cover this. And it's more my disbelief in the Giants than my belief in the Falcons to do this thing at this point.
I never thought we were going to see the day where the New York Jets were this much better than the New York Giants.
Didn't we have that when Mark Sanchez was around for a little bit at the beginning?
I don't think it was this much of a difference, though.
It was only like by a game or two, but I mean, the
Giants were still like coming off Super Bowls not too long. Like, now you look at the Giants and really they haven't looked good. The Jets have looked great. So right now, kids are becoming Jets fans and wearing Sam Darnold jerseys. Which
the Giants they're doing the smart blend. They got their franchise running back. Now this year they're going to probably go for their franchise quarterback.
Well, we'll get into my hopes that they don't draft. I mean, I think they're going to probably have a top pick. And in my opinion, if they're able to get Justin Herbert from Oregon, I think he's a stud quarterback if he comes out this year. And as an Eagles fan, I am horrified to think that he could be the quarterback of the New York Giants. But that's for a later date. So let's get back into this game, focusing on right now. Atlanta Falcons, 4.5-point home favorites against the Giants. What do you got, Justin?
You know how I said like one of the games was like the easiest to pick?
Yes.
I lied. This game is the easiest to pick. It's the Falcons. I mean the only real good thing right now is Saquon Barkley, and that's surprising to say with Odell and Shepard, but you need to have a quarterback that's going to be able to get him the ball, and he's not doing that right now. I think Matt Ryan, regardless of who his receivers are, I think he's just such a good quarterback. And he's going to have Julio, hopefully. Well, you would
Yeah,
think
he's going to have Julio.
exactly. So if you have Julio, I think that's already a mismatch. Because who are they going to put on him? Eli Apple, and the dude couldn't cover.
He couldn't cover Alshon Jeffrey. He's not going to cover Julio.
Exactly, and Alshon Jeffrey is not exactly what you would call a deep threat.
Exactly.
So
he just flat out outmuscled him. He's playing another big receiver this week.
Exactly.
So
yeah. So it's just going to be. I just see Atlanta taking control of this game, especially with Matt Ryan playing in a dome.
Yeah.
At home, I think the game's over before it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 100% Atlanta wins this game. I don't think that's at all a question. I'm going to take Atlanta to cover the spread, but I'm going to be honest. Now, remember, I'm taking Atlanta before you start to criticize me for what I'm about to say. The Falcons are terrible. Their defense might be the worst defense I've seen in years, and it's mostly because of the fact that every week they seem to lose another cornerback or safety.
Yeah.
But like week 1, they lost 2 against the Eagles.
Yeah,
and that's the only reason. Yeah.
True Fun.
Yeah.
Fun get hurt?
I don't know if he got hurt that week, but he's hurt now.
Yeah, there you go.
So basically, the Falcons every week seem to lose like a star defensive back, and I honestly could see the Giants making this a close game. I could see this being one of those games where Odell has like 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, just because there's no one to cover him. I could see Saquon having another 200-yard from scrimmage game. But even if all that happens, I still see Matt Bryant winning this game by a field goal.
Matt Bryant's not playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Giorgio Tavecchio is currently the kicker for the Atlanta Falcons. Either way, I see this being one of those where please stop. A kicker, I could see this being one of those where the Falcons end up just winning by a field goal, which would be like a travesty for Falcons fans. But at least that would make Monday Night Football interesting. But unfortunately for you Giants fans, I'm going to take the Falcons. As good as I think Saquon Barkley is, I just don't think the Giants I don't think they have a good enough defense. I think Julio Jones being matched up against most likely Eli Apple is going to hurt them so much. Yeah. You saw it last week in the Eagles game, like Justin said. Eli Apple got absolutely burned by Alshon Jeffrey on almost every play. So for that reason, I'm going to take Atlanta. But if this ends up being a fun game, let's call it, if this ends up being a fun matchup where we see a ton of offense, no defense, I'm going to enjoy watching it then. Because right now, I don't know that I'm going to watch this game, aside from our show, because these are 2 terrible teams matching up this week.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is our NFL Week 7 picks. We got a couple different picks this week. I have some old strategies here where I'm going against both of you, so I definitely can't do it on that last pick with the Giants. But we're going to see how this shakes out, and we'll make sure to let everyone know how it goes.
Yeah.
So, Vin, that is NFL Week 7. Anything else?
One more thing before we actually close the show. So, MLB looks like they're about to end this whole thing in the next few days. Are we still waiting until after Game 7 would have been to record, or are we going to do that?
I think that'll be one of those where we decide after it happens because, we like to do a scheduled kind of thing because I think the also nice part with doing the when Game 7 should have been is it sets it up perfectly to preview the World Series because we're not just doing a recap, we're also doing the preview. So I think for right now, we're still going to have our next podcast scheduled for then, for when we do our MLB recap and our MLB preview.
Yeah.
We might not do a full show then. We're going to kind of have to see how it goes. Make sure to follow our social media for updates on when we're going to podcast, when we're going to go live, when we're posting other videos. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Long Islander Pod.
At Long Islander Pod.
At Long Islander Pod. Twitter is where you're going to get the best content, where you're usually going to see Justin and I trying to trigger other fans, and you're going to see Vin posting a take that everyone thinks. And
it's Captain Obvious.
Vin is Captain Obvious. He says things that even my mom knows. Mom, I love you. But aside from Philadelphia sports, I don't expect you to know things, but somehow you know the same amount as Vincent Pensabenes.
I don't know. I don't know if I posted it on on our pod, but
well, you have.
I put Manny Machado is the MLB Kevin Durant.
I don't think that's on ours.
Well, anyway,
well, now we're gonna retweet that.
We're not gonna get into our Manny Machado takes right now. We're gonna save that for the MLB recap show. But that has been our show. Again, follow us on social media at Long Islander Pod. You can follow me at jpots&pans. That is jpots_and_pans. We're going to put everything in the description. You can follow him at Froley393, FROLEY393. And I'll let Vin say his own thing. He's not going to spell it. We'll just put it in the description. But please follow all of our social media, especially the podcast. Vin, say your name, please.
He thinks that I'm not spelling my last name. That's cute. It is at Vin Pensabene, PENSABENE.
And again, for anyone that didn't listen to that and is still struggling to spell it, we will put it in the description below. Please follow all of our social media. Thank you. Have a great weekend.